No, I almost wrote a letter for, on behalf of, with Blade Watch, and I called Dave, and he said, you can't write a letter.
Yeah.
We can't pierce the veil. Farm Bureau?
No, this is the collection plan.
So is this in our packet?
No, this is, I just got this. This is.
Recording in progress.
Are there, let's see, what do we do first?
Gonna go straight into closed session.
Any additions or corrections? No, let's see, roll call first, because we have several people online.
Yes. Director Anderson,
I'm here. I need to make a comment to let people know that I'm here on Zoom and there are no other individuals 18 years of age or any present in the room where I am.
thank you. Director Daniels,
I'm here.
Director Edwards,
I'm here, make a quick statement. I'm at home. I'm in a residence by myself and nobody under 18 is in the residence at this time.
thank you. Director Lindor,
Here.
Director Paul,
Here.
Vice Chair Oglesby,
Here.
Chair Riley.
Here,
All members are present.
thank you. Any additions or corrections to the closed session agenda?
No, they're not.
Okay, so no public comment. We will recess to closed session. Is there a statement we make?
Yes, and just to confirm, we have no members of the public present, in-house or via Zoom.
Okay, we will adjourn, or not adjourn, but recess to closed session.
Okay, and if you give me just 1 minute so I can lock the meeting, please.
Recording stopped.
To make sure that my mic is on. We are in closed session today for that one item.
regular session of the Monterey Peninsula Water Management District.
Yes. Director Anderson? Director Daniels?
Here.
Director Edwards?
Here?
Director Lindor?
Here.
Director Paul?
Here.
Director Anderson, we're taking roll call.
Yes. Here.
Vice Chair Oglesby?
Here.
Chair Riley?
Here,
All members are present.
thank you. No pledge allegiance on my lead. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So, Mr.
Point
GM,
point of order, Chair. I'm not sure if we have any important things on the item on the agenda tonight. But we do have two members that are not present and their votes wants to be recorded properly. And they probably need to make their same announcement at this meeting.
you're right. Okay, Amy and Alvin, you need to make your statements about being off site. Both of you.
Yes, I'm happy to do that. I am attending via Zoom, and there are no other people over 18 in the room with me.
I'm at Zoom in my residence. I have no one here under 18 attending this meeting. No one that is here. Thank you.
I think he meant no one over 18
Thank you. Okay,
or under.
we're more legal than we were. Okay, did I ask for additions and corrections to tonight's agenda?
There's none.
Okay, then I'll ask.
There are none.
Okay. So in the consent calendar,
Or we're just.
wait a minute, oral communications, I'm sorry, oral
Communications.
communications, sorry. Tom, there I am looking at you.
Yes, good evening. It's been excruciating to read some of the propaganda that's been put forth in the media on various things, somewhat sickening. Again, Tom Raleigh, I happen to be Vice President of Monterey Peninsula Taxpayers Association. I'm also President of my neighborhood association. Very familiar with water problems. I've been following this board for 35 years, before some of you even lived here. And your horizon and how you look at water consumption. And the city of Monterey right now has 5 major housing projects on Garden Road that are in a state of flux. One is just completed and was sold to the MPUSD for school housing. But there are 4 more to go. These were commercial buildings that are being converted to residential. The other thing is we have 4 major hotels that are coming online, 2 in PG, 1 in Sand City, and the one in Seaside, the Grand Hyatt, that's on the Marina Coast Water District. But 3 of them are going to be major draws on Monterey Peninsula water. So the water consumption figures that you're looking at now are nonsensical. They're artificially low. And the last thing that you need to be aware of, our tourism is 70% of what it was pre-COVID, ballpark. So you're 30% down on the number of visitors. So you're not using the water. So all of these water figures that people keep throwing out there, they're meaningless when you really know what's coming down the pike in the next couple of years. So the thing is, I've never seen you guys discuss really what's happening with water. And I've been here every damn meeting. And I don't see you really taking a look at what's really projected to come down the pike. I see a lot of talk about phony figures and what have you, but it's very frustrating as a member of the public to see you ignore major factors that are ongoing right now on the Monterey Peninsula. So thank you.
Thank you, Tom.
Chair Riley, I have Michael Bear with his hand raised.
Okay.
Mr. Bear, when you're ready.
Hi, everybody. Hi, Amy. Good to see you. I left the room for Tom, so I wouldn't have to spend time responding to him. But I did hear one thing that I wanted to respond to, Tom. And maybe the reason tourism down 70% is people are afraid of getting kidnapped. Tourism is massively down all over the country. Okay, so we're not going to be using that water for a while. It's going to be a while before tourists come back. All right. So what I wanted to talk about, I had a question about Apple Valley. That it's part of the case for the acquisition. I mean, I would like just a further explanation when legal presents. My question is, how is that related to what we're trying to do in terms of buying out Cal-Am? I understand this case is about, can a company charge ratepayers in a different part of the state or a different part of their holdings to pay for the acquisition rather than the shareholders? The shareholders should be paying for this. So I might even be wrong about that, but that's my understanding. So I would just like some clarification about what the Apple Valley case is and what how it relates and could delay our case. And the last thing is Kate. I just got it for Kate. Hi, Kate. I just got an excellent letter from Supervisor out of District 4 related to the CPUC. And I think it would be great if you could also write a letter wearing your supervisor hat to the CPUC before the 24th, because that's a big meeting. And if you didn't see Bill Monning's letter, everybody needs to read that. All right, I'm out. Over and out.
Thank you, Mr. Bear. Can you give a 1-minute response on Apple Valley?
So just very briefly, the Apple Valley case is establishing what the standard of review would be, whether or not there's deferential treatment to the agency's decision, or whether the trial court would look at it as a de novo review being brand new. That's in essence what's kind of going on, and what we anticipate, what Cal-Am has indicated is we're slowing our case down to see what that Supreme Court decision does, because it's going to clarify the standard going forward and directly impact our case.
In our case is
That's the acquisition of the public water system.
right. Okay, just for the public to know.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, thank you for oral communication. Back
Chair
to
Riley, I have Susan Schiavone
Oh, I'm
with her
sorry.
hand raised. Susan, when you're ready.
Good evening, folks. Nice to see everybody. I just want to make one point. I believe everybody in every city had a chance to meet with AMBAG for their regional forecast. That regional forecast has been used to evaluate growth and demand for water. It's a legitimate demand forecast. I've also looked at the draft they have for the next forecast, and they're anticipating actually population losses. Much slower growth than any of these people keep trying to say. And the tourist industry right now, you cannot bet on that, at least for the next 3 years, given the administration in Washington and the effect it's having on visitors that are coming. We may have visitors from the United States, but we're certainly not going to have the foreign visitors that we've had in the past. So any of this building, I'm sure, has been looked at already in terms of water usage. And I think some of the smoke that's being blown needs to be blown out of the room a little bit. So that's why I'm making my comment. It's legitimate numbers. I think you guys have studied this, and I totally trust what you're doing. So I'm just putting that out there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Chair Riley, I see no other
Just
raised
know
hand.
that- Okay,
I'd like to,
okay, back to the board.
yeah, if I may, I'd just like to make a brief response, add to what our general counsel said in response to Michael Bear's question about Apple Valley. If you remember, this district had to make findings of public necessity, it's called. Basically, the reasons why we concluded that public ownership would that the public would benefit, the ratepayers would benefit from public ownership and exactly how those findings and necessity. So the question in the case is, when the court reviews that, should it give deference to those findings? Or should it just basically decide it as if they had all the same information and just decide it? What they call de novo is a completely independent review without any deference to the district's findings. So that's the issue with that. And I hope that helps.
Okay, yeah, comment?
If I could just make a comment, that writing a letter is something I did look into. And I am a Monterey Peninsula Water Management District Director as well as a county supervisor. And it would be akin to someone on this board writing a letter management district director, and that's a very hard separation to make. And so it was recommended to me that we not pierce the veil in that way, because it could be, it could come up later and not be helpful. So that's why I'm unable, unlike other supervisors who don't sit on this board, to write a letter as a supervisor, because as you all know, I'm also a director.
Okay, and thanks for clarifying that too. Okay, on with the agenda. Consent calendar. Any member of the board have a comment or before we go out to the public? Okay, let's go out to the public. Return it to the board.
Chair Riley, I see no raised hands.
All right, sorry, I'm jumping the gun here before I hear the answer to the question. Okay, I'd entertain a motion for approving the consent calendar as one motion.
So moved. Second.
Okay, moved and seconded. All in favor, oops, no, roll call.
Roll call vote.
Director Anderson,
Yes.
Director Lindor,
Yes.
Director Paul,
Yes.
Vice Chair Oglesby,
Aye.
Chair Riley.
Aye,
Consent calendar is approved 7-0.
thank you. We'll on to the general manager's report. Let me just back up and give Kate a suggestion. Way less than 2 hours.
Yeah.
Okay.
You haven't heard what I have to say yet. I can't say that.
Okay, on with the agenda, general manager's report.
Okay, so I won't have
And
quite,
welcome, by the way. in that
thank you,
state.
thank you, thank you.
Look at that. So,
I won't have quite the depth and breadth that Dave has when he gives this report, but we'll get through it pretty quickly. As you can see, year to date through October through June of the water year, you can kind of see the different levels being targeted from the basin, the Seaside Groundwater Basin, and the totals. You'll notice that we are a little bit over as to what we had last year. And my colleague John Lear is on in case there's some really difficult questions. But he was doing a great job explaining to me that they make these projections based on the quarterly water budget. And so, you know, when precipitation happens and which sources of water are going to be hit more or sooner than others, then they kind of make these projections moving forward. And so you can kind of see that the target for the Carmel River was 2,000, a little over 2,000, but they were a little over. You know, maybe that was due to some of the issues in the dry spring that we had, you know, and so a lot of it is geographical and weather related. But for the most part, you know, just a little higher. And I'll talk about that in the next slide. You can kind of see on the water projects and rights that the target for recovery from pure water was a little higher than what was actual. Table 13 was a little, actual was higher than the target. And then Sand City has been a little bit lower than what they thought they were going to get out of that facility. So difference just is a little bit lower than projected. Next slide. This is kind of the slide that is wrapping it all up as to where the different waters are coming from. You know, 853 for the month of June was, you know, I think that's kind of the new normal. Not to
disparage any of the tourism talk or, the projects or things of that nature. You can see that that's pretty consistent in the summer months, whether it's tourism or landscape irrigation. And so I think we were a little over 200 acre feet over last year. And we can talk about that on the next slide as to what we are seeing as the monthly recorded rainfall. So to date, we are at 16.68 inches. Normal is 20.99, so we're roughly 79% of average for the rainfall. And what that does is that puts us between below normal and dry. That's kind of the distinction. It's just right on the cusp of that distinction between below normal and dry. And so you can kind of see how it's kind of ticked up on the next slide, the rainfall, whether it's the fog that comes in and gets accumulated and we, have a 0.01 recording in April, May, and June. This morning I drove in and my windshield wipers were on because it's so thick. And so the last slide is the unimpaired Carmel River flow. And, as you compare actual versus average, you can kind of see where it just kind of turned off in the springtime. And we're roughly running right now 49% of the long-term average for the river flow in Carmel. So that's kind of it in regards to the general matters report on the CalAM compliance. And I'm pretty answer any questions.
Yes.
So dry year, relatively dry year. What's the story? And there was less runoff, I remember also this year in the other materials in the agenda packet. But the storage in the Seaside Basin is actually quite good. It's actually a little more, is that?
There's two components to the storage in the Seaside Basin and then also the storage in the Carmel Aquifer. And so the Carmel Aquifer, now that they're down to the legal limit, it's kind of stretched the amount of water that's available in that aquifer. And so John Lear is probably going to get mad at me, but basically, let's say the legal limit is 3376 for what CalAM can take. Let's just say the private pumpers can take the equivalent amount. So then that says, I'm just ballparking, right?
It's good ballpark.
But what that says is that, we have like 2.5 years worth of storage today in the aquifer, where in the past I was at meetings where they would say, oh, we're at 18 months worth of storage because that amount that's now the legal limit is extending that storage of that aquifer. As far as the Seaside Groundwater Basin, yes, the amount of water that we put in this year for ASR was pretty remarkable given the short window that we had. We put 716 acre feet in there, plus the reserve Pure Water was able to put another 163 acre feet in June into the reserve. And so I think it's a ballpark around 6,700 acre feet that's currently in the Seaside Basin that's not being utilized.
To underscore the importance of storage, and even though the annual production of ASR or the annual, the weather conditions, all that is very variable from year to year.
Kieran, your mic is not on.
I'm so sorry. I
Thank
was
you.
just raising a question about storage, just to underscore how important storage is. So we have, a lot of variability and the timing of the rainfall and all this, but whatever is injected into the Seaside Basin or whatever is stored in the Carmel River aquifer is storage. It's a resource that is there that we can use when we need it. So I say that because, some argue that the MSR is not a reliable resource because it doesn't produce a guaranteed certain amount each year, or to inject into the aquifer. Oh, that's true, but on everything, really a drought reserve and an important resource that helps us manage the variability.
I have a question similar. Yeah, and it's actually just, so I've been here since January and we haven't recovered any ASR. At what point in the year will I see some ASR that's being pulled out, or is it always storage?
I And this is where John could probably fill in, but I think early on when ASR was being injected, they would pull some of it out. Over the last 3 or 4 years, it's been minimal, if at all, the amount that went out from ASR, just because of the other supplies that we have available now.
That's great.
Okay. And I assume if John has something to add, he'll
He would chime in.
say something. Okay. Okay, thank you for that report. That's the full report from the general manager at this point.
Yeah, you nodded.
Anything else?
Yes, no, that's it.
Michael's up.
Okay, I'm just sorry, looking up, not looking up. but,
General
uh,
counsel.
The general counsel, district council report.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm going to start by reporting out the action that was taken in closed session, as it does directly impact the litigation report. The board did meet in closed session this evening for under one item. This was existing litigation under Government Code Section 54956.9 D1. This is the City of Marina CV 004063. The board did have a robust discussion. And out of that, there was a motion by Director Lindor, seconded by Director Paul, and the board elected to join an appeal with the City of Marina and the Marina Coast Water District. That motion was passed 6-1 with Director Edwards dissenting. Moving on to the litigation report. This is found on page 31 of your packet. And I won't go into too much detail at this time as you do have the written report, but I did want to highlight some of the changes for some of the cases. The first case is the District versus Cal-Am, case number 23 CV 004102. This pertains to the district's pursuit of public ownership of the water system from Cal-Am. We continue to anticipate that Cal-Am is going to seek a stay of the proceedings while the California Supreme Court hears the town of Apple Valley case. There hasn't been any movement on that at this time, but our next case management conference is scheduled for October 28th, 2025. The second case, this is the District versus LAFCO. This pertains to the district challenging LAFCO's conduct and administrative decision regarding exercise of district powers to acquire Cal-Am water system facilities. The matter is now on appeal before the 6th District Court of Appeal, and the district's opening briefs is due in Marina and the Water District versus the Coastal Commission. This is what we discussed in closed session. At trial, the court did find that the Coastal Commission did not exceed its jurisdiction or abuse its discretion, and that action was supported by substantial evidence. All petitioning parties, Marina Coast Water District, the City of Marina, and now the district have elected to pursue an appeal of that decision. On matters pending before the Public Utilities Commission, there's a couple cases. The first one, A21-11-024. This is the groundwater purchase agreement. This is going to be discussed in more detail on item number 9, and you have a rather extensive brief on that, so I'll refer to that time to have more comments. There's some recent developments that's going to happen this week on that case. Regarding the general rate case for 2025, this is A.25-07-003. On July 1st of this, on the 1st of this month, Cal-Am filed its latest triannual rate request as a part of its regular 3-year rate cycle. The district is inclined to participate that, and that'll be a rather extensive effort moving forward. Regarding the CPUC acquisition and rulemaking, this action deals with the rulemaking of the PUC that impacts statewide public utility systems with particular impacts on the Cal-Am system. The statutory deadline for the PUC to issue a proposed decision has been extended to September 30th, 2025. And that just concludes my summary of the new changes. If you have any questions, I can certainly dive into it. That concludes my report.
Could you just mention the threatened litigation? Just
You're talking about
part of it, just the other 2 matters on your report.
Certainly. So yeah, there's 2 pieces of threat and litigation. The Water District versus the State Water Resource Control Board. This is a case from 2009. We're at the point now where they're trying to establish possible attorney's fees. There was a request for dismissal that was not challenged, and the court has yet to rule on that request. So we're in a wait and see there. The second one, this is the City of Marina and Marina Coast Water District versus RMC Lone Star and Cal-Am. This is case number 20 CV 001387. Although the district is not a party to this action, it includes a focus on Cal-Am's access to water and water rights, and it could potentially involve district interests. So we're just monitoring that at this time.
Okay. Thank you.
May I
And
have
that concludes
Right.
my report.
All right, any questions from the board?
one comment? Brief
Go
comment?
ahead. Go ahead.
About the general rate case that Cal-Am filed. Members of the public, staff, members of the community may have noticed 2 full-page ads in the Herald showing the taken by Cal-Am because they're required to do this to show the rate increases that they're requesting and the estimated impact on bills. There it is. There it is. There's half of it. And they're asking for substantial increases for residential. It'd be, I believe, 14% in the first year and then 5% is it in the second and third year? Very substantial increases. So that's why we participate.
Yeah, thanks for adding that. Okay, so, all right, we've completed the district council report and comments. That's item 5. Item 6, on with the agenda. Item 6 is, well, let's see, item 6, yeah, oral reports from the board members who district. So I just want to. Any directors want to add anything about a meeting they went to?
I do, but I can wait till.
No,
You may-
go ahead, I'll do that.
The quarterly meeting of the Monterey Special Districts Association, which Chair Riley also attended, and just mention a few things we learned there. Well, one is that the statewide Special Districts Association is having its annual conference in Monterey in August 25th to 28th. There are some things of interest that may be of interest. I think I'd like to go. There's one session on the role of LAFCOs. There's a lot of skill building type things that would be of interest to general managers or future general managers. There's some legal issues that are covered, Brown Act reform, some other legislative reform that impact special districts like ours. Anyway, there is this brochure, maybe Sarah, do you have copies of it in somewhere? Of this? No. Well, you can go on the website of the California Special Districts Association and see if there are things that interest you to go. I think, there's things that I think would be of interest to board members and staff. And the last day to get the early bird rate is July 25th. So Sarah, I'm putting you on notice that I would like to register. So that was one thing.
Mike, please. Mike,
Oh, Mike.
that's
Mike.
me.
Oh,
I
my
just-
paper, it was covered by paper, sorry.
Yes,
Excuse
me, Director Anderson is just having a hard time hearing everyone.
Yeah, people, please turn your mics back on when you start speaking again. Sorry.
Okay. So I was just calling out that the California Special Districts Association list. There seem to be things that are of interest. There are to me.
Before we leave that point, Sarah, could you go to their website and give a notice and send it to the board members?
Yes, I believe I sent it out earlier, but I will send it again. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so I'm looking at my notes to see what is worth mentioning here. In the Monterey County Weekly is going to have a an issue focused with a major article about special districts in Monterey County, and that's coming up in July. So I hope someone from our district is in touch. Have you spoken?
I have not
Oh.
heard from them.
I think it's cemeteries. I think they're focusing on cemeteries, aren't they? Or is that just one of many?
Oh, there's-
No.
I don't know. I haven't spoken to anybody at the weekly, but I was hoping that someone from our staff,
Okay.
maybe Phil Wellman, maybe could speak with him on the public outreach committee to see.
I'll follow up on it.
Thank you, Stephanie. Thank you. Okay. The chapter, the Monterey chapter also said, encouraged special district to something to celebrate, like completion of a project or, something like that. And of course, we are going to be there hopefully in a few months. So let's let them know. I guess there was one, the last thing I'll say is there was a hacking incident and Director Daniels Supervisor Daniels probably knows a lot more about this. But it was reported that some bad actor hacked into the Monterey County payment systems and had a very clever scheme to basically to steal money from people who were entities, special districts and other local government entities that were paying the county for something. As an invoice a fake invoice that was sent out that purporting to be a follow-up or reminder of a previous invoice. So anyway, it was corrected, we were told, but
Karen, I think this is housing and community development, and it was a housing and community it was a fake invoice for a permittee. And so they got an invoice for a permit. It was a school and it was money that they didn't owe. And it was several $1,000s. And it triggered for them, why are we paying extra money? So they looked into it. And I would just say to anybody who receives an invoice, look at the email. So once you drill down and you look at the email, it was clearly a fake email, but they made it look like the letterhead of the county. Most of us engaged in this work, it didn't quite look right? It didn't quite look right. So just question what you're paying. And if it's the same one I'm thinking of, because it's the only one I've heard of, it was a fake invoice from Housing and Community Development that went to a local school.
The more specific thing to look for is the email address that it comes from. It's the address that gives it away.
Exactly. It was not a county address.
Okay. Well, thank you for that. And I mean, the point is that we have to be on guard for cyber attacks and fraud schemes like that. And we were told that some of the companies that provide insurance for special districts are going to offer a 2-hour class on cybersecurity that will be made available to us. So just passing that on. Thank you. That's it.
And I attended the same meeting. The only thing I would add is that they have some very strong opinions about certain pieces of legislation that's been proposed. And they are opposed to more things than they're supporting of.
Mike, please.
But
Chair,
anyway,
Riley, I can't hear you.
use your microphone.
So I think it's maybe how close we are to
Yeah,
the
I think so.
microphone makes a difference.
Is your mic on?
I can, yeah, the mic's on, but I was.
Yeah,
too
that's
far away.
it. It's closeness. So
Okay.
I'm just
So
sorry, I'm a pain in the rear, but
just quickly, the Special District Association has some strong opinions about some state legislation, proposed legislation. And our district usually goes along with and cooperates with the special district groups. And I mean, their opinions. I haven't seen anything. There's a legislative committee meeting coming up soon, I think, in this month. I don't know. I just hope that there's a review of this. Just whatever. I know there will be a review, but anyway, it's coming up. So any other board members have a thing they want to add? Because I want to take a few minutes here for my statement. Okay. So what you have in front of you is PUC, CPUC mission. And I just want to read one short statement in the mission statement. This is in state law.
Mike?
It's, pardon?
Close to the mic,
Okay.
please. I can't hear a
All right,
thing.
there we go. Okay, I'll just
You back
try to
up.
do that. I feel.
Oh, tie it around your
Yeah,
neck.
no, I
please.
need to be reminded. Thank you. And
Thank you.
this is state law. And the very first statement of the mission of the CPC regarding water, this is what it says. Provide sufficient, let me just back up. It's provided by water corporations. So this is directed to the client base, which are corporate utilities. This is much across the board, but this is applied specifically to water. Provide revenues sufficient to afford to earn a return on its used and useful investment, to attract capital for investment on legal terms, and to ensure the financial integrity of the utility. Now, that's the statement. Now, my statement, I'm just going to read it because attached is the full mission statement. I want to dissect the meaning and the impacts of it in relation to local water issues. For background, the PUC regulates all corporate or investor-owned or privately owned utilities. About 90% of its time is spent on energy, natural gas, and telecommunication services. The balance is on railroad crossings, rail transit, passenger carriers, limousines, charter buses, ferries, transportation network such as Uber and water. Now, what I read is the exact phrasing that's used by the PUC on its website, and water is listed last. I just happened to notice that. Okay. So I want to dissect some of these phrases. Provide revenues and earnings sufficient. Okay, revenues and earnings. Revenue means that from all sources for CalAm, so that's for any utility. Revenue is total income. Earnings are what's left over after deducting all operating expenses, all loan and interest payments, all amortization calculations. American Water Works has its own financing structure, so it is less influenced by market forces that may affect interest costs in borrowing. So what it's sufficient for what? To afford a utility an opportunity. What does that mean? Afford an opportunity to make a profit. That's where the profit issue comes in. Profit is not guaranteed, but its likelihood is clearly bolstered by the PUC mission and its decisions. So an opportunity to reasonable is never defined, nor is profit specifically mentioned in PUC documents and decisions. However, the general result is profit around 6 to 8%. So it's a reasonable return on its used and useful investments. This used and useful is a critical phrase. Used is past tense, and that's important. Reimbursement can be considered, PUC can only consider reimbursing a utility for its cost only after implementation. This would apply to any desal costs, which could take years to get through CalAm's process and the PUC process. Furthermore, this is used and useful as a phrase. Furthermore, the PUC butchered that phrase when it approved reimbursement for CalAm costs for the demolition of the San Clemente Dam as a I always thought that was quite a little twist in how they applied used and useful. When it's gone, it's used and useful. In addition, CalAm also justifies its failed projects, its expenditures on unsuccessful attempts as its best effort under the circumstances. So there are conditions, kind of how these things work. This is often referred to as stranded costs, although although the PUC does not use that phrase. The PUC has approved a series of failed water supply investments since 2004 for full reimbursement by ratepayers. Not a penny of these failed projects, investments, have been charged to shareholders, not a penny. Yet the corporation is expected to risk some capital in the pursuit of profit.
So when who pays what is considered in PUC decisions, the shareholders do not share in that risk. Shareholders are protected. Ratepayers pay. So now what are they doing? It's to attract capital for investment. This collection of emission parameters set the foundation to make sure that the corporate utility is financially strong and therefore attractive for investment capital. And the conclusion statement is to ensure financial integrity of the utility. This is the overall purpose, to support the corporation. So in conclusion, this is my version of what all these things mean, but it's based on some research and some discussion with others. In conclusion, the PUC purpose is to assure a corporate utility, the entity itself, has the full financial opportunity and the baseline financial management tools to be successful. It nurtures corporations as its top priority, not the water service and not the ratepayer. Just calling out a distinction between the three categories of where their interest might be. Corporations, the service, or ratepayers. It's the corporations. That's the end of my statement. And my statements and any other statement that the board members might make is not intended for causing a discussion, creating an agenda item or an action item. It's a statement, period. You make it, you move on. So now we'll move on. We are at item number 7, the second reading of ordinance number 198.
Thank you, Chair Riley.
Okay, Stephanie, you're on.
This has been a very interesting meeting. This is the second reading and adoption of ordinance number 198, which amends definitions and permit processes. And we're amending the definitions for new construction and the main California American water system. And this ordinance is actually a very simple ordinance. We also add definitions for dormitory beds at educational institutions and advanced treated recycled water. Rule 23 has been amended with minor changes for clarity, and then we've moved all of the metering requirements to mandatory conditions. And that's a section of Rule 23 where before it was earlier in the process, and now we're putting it in mandatory conditions. The Rule 24 amendments include codifying last year's language that was adopted by the board for second bathroom protocol. And this is very important. And the main reason we're doing this ordinance because the urgency ordinance that was adopted last year expires after 1 year. So by adopting the ordinance tonight, we're continuing what was adopted last year. And the recommendation this evening is that the board should conduct a public hearing before adopting the ordinance. The ordinance is not a project under CEQA and does not require a CEQA analysis. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer those.
I have one question, but I'll ask other members if they have a question at all. My question is I'm sorry, go ahead, Amy.
No, you go ahead. You're started.
You said an urgency ordinance the last time and it expires after 1 year. Does this make it permanent or just
Yes.
continue the urgency?
No, this makes it permanent.
Okay, thank you. Amy?
Yes, I have a question. It probably seems like nitpicking, but in terms of the word main in the main California American water system or the California American main system, is there any instance in which the word main is required anymore? Because it's always, I don't see any place. Like, is there any instance where the term California American water might mean other than main system?
Yes. Right now, CalAm has the Hidden Hills system, which is separate.
Okay.
from the main system. So when and they do plan to integrate the systems. And at that point, yes, we probably can get rid of that and just call it the Cal-Am system.
That will be great. Thank you. Thank you.
Could, just quickly before, are we suggesting a slight edit on this
No,
with this motion? Okay. Any other comments from board members? Take it out to the public? I'm sorry. we can get
Yeah.
back.
I'd just like to say, this must have required a lot of work, and I just want to thank you, Stephanie, and anyone who helped you. It must have been an awful lot of work to update. You know, it's so, but
I
thank you.
hate to tell you this, you're gonna see a lot of these in the next few months.
It's very helpful, you know, that the ordinances actually are applicable, you know, are up to date and current and reflect the change, the things that have changed over the years. And, you know,
Thank
it's,
you.
it is our job, and I really appreciate all the work you put into it.
Let's go out to the public, see if there are any comments.
Chair Riley, I see no raised hands.
Okay, back to the board. There a motion to approve this second reading?
So moved, Chair.
Thank you. Moved and seconded. Okay, moved and seconded. Roll call, please.
Director Anderson,
hang on just a second. If I had something else here. Yes,
okay. Director Daniels,
Yes.
Director Edwards,
Yes.
Director Lindor,
Yes.
Director Paul,
Yes.
Vice Chair Oglesby,
Aye.
Chair Riley.
Aye.
Ordinance is adopted 7-0.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda, item number 8 is to negotiate a draft agreement with Marina Coast for aqua storage and recovery cooperation. So let's have a short presentation. Sure, a presentation.
So on page 59 of the packet, it talks about some of the conversations that we've had with Marina Coast and how this collaboration could potentially benefit both the district and Marina Coast. You know, we feel like we have the right to inject water into the Seaside Basin. Obviously, we'd work with the water master if there was any other issues involved with that.
What's the proposal so that we're kind of,
So tonight, all we're looking at is getting the board's blessing to start the process of drafting an agreement.
okay,
That's it. We're not bringing the agreement back. There's things that we would have to do that, whether it's committee, you know, having public comment, things of that nature. So, you know, this lays out, the staff report lays out a lot of the reasons why we'd like to start this process. We may get down the road and something may come up and we may not be able to move any further, but this at least allows us to get started and having that dialogue with that other district.
Drafted agreement, we'll come back to.
Oh, absolutely. And it'll go through a committee, back to the board, and it may go to other places as well, depending on how much, you know, feedback we're getting, whether or not we need to go to other organizations.
so are there any questions on whatever? Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm actually not seeing, so 8 is right here. Okay, so my question is what waters, Amy, sorry, what water source would is being proposed to inject?
Yeah, so that's what's to be determined through this, you know, the nuts and bolts of the agreement. There's speculation, but that's what it is. So we would assume that it would be potable water from Marina Coast.
And so I guess what I'm trying to understand is the why. And I recognize that it would be a good thing for the Seaside Basin perhaps to have some more water in it. I understand that. But if it's one question I would like to get answered before, I mean, perhaps even before proceeding, or maybe the board wants to proceed first, but if it's extracted water from one basin that's just re-injected into the Seaside Basin, I'm trying to understand the ecological benefit of
Yeah.
doing that.
That's obviously some of the questions that our staff has had as well. And I think that we would work through that if we move forward with this process.
So is there a potential that it's a supply that I'm just not familiar with, like wastewater or something like that? Or is it for sure going to be something that's extracted?
It's something that would be served to their customers.
Okay, potable water.
Yes.
And in terms of the Marina Coast area and where potentially this water might be extracted from, is that a basin that is also the terminology is escaping me right now, but
For GSA?
GSA, yes, but most of the basins, with the exception of the basins down south,
Overdrafted.
overdrafted. Thank you very much. Is it an overdrafted basin that they would be pulling from?
Whether it's the 180, 400, maybe the deep,
Okay.
that's.
These are, so I'm just, as a director, not only are these important questions to ask, it would be important for me to have the answers to these questions before saying proceed.
Yeah.
Because again, if we're in some political realm, that's one thing I don't want to be in. And so I want to understand the why. And then you just mentioned the 180-400. If it is the 180-400, or if it may even be water that could potentially have gone to CSIP, as a Monterey County Water Resources Agency director, I feel like because of the Board of Supervisors, we're also the directors, I think they would necessarily need to be at the table. And then I guess those are some of my biggest questions at this point, because it also seems like in the report it said that this would be water for future development that is the forward lands. So it makes sense where it would be going, but I don't even believe we have the infrastructure in place yet. So this could potentially be a very long-term agreement. And if we're extracting water in the long term, even if we have nothing to do with that water supply, if you're just thinking about the environment and you're thinking about the groundwater supply, this seems like it's not like the water's just flowing and plentiful. You're going into the deep aquifer in some cases. You're going into the 180-400 in other cases. You're going into the Monterey subbasin in other places, all of which are overdrafted. So I'm not clear about this proposal and would like more information. Thank you.
Understand.
Didn't this idea get initiated by Marina Coast?
Yes.
Yeah, so I don't know the answers to, I haven't heard the answers. Yes.
So my understanding that there's a lot of potential mutual benefits.
Talking to the mic.
It's my understanding that there are several potential benefits to both districts. So one is simply that coast is right away. So it has rights.
Can't hear.
Service territory, all the residential building, which is a lot, it's going to. So it is from Pure to store surplus water and build up their reserves that they can use later, that to develop the extraction capacity, extraction wells in order to do. So that would be part of the agreement. Also, this district might need to buy some of the surplus water from Marina Coast, or I suppose it could possibly conceivably be the reverse. Sales to, if one has more than needed and the other has less, and we could sell to each other. And there could be some cost sharing of some of the infrastructure needed for adding additional injection capacity and additional extraction capacity. So, I mean, I'm really not well versed in the details, but those are some of the mutual benefits.
And I think there's another beneficiary here. I think the Seaside Groundwater Basin is where they would put that water and store it.
Yes.
So there's an advantage in that side of it as well.
And to Director Daniels, you see the Exhibit 8A was just a skeleton of some of the things that you raised, where the injection facilities, water rights, water quality, all of those kind of items that were just kind of listed. This isn't exhaustive by any means. This is just kind of a starting point, like the recitals, definitions, all the things that you mentioned.
So Director Riley brings up an important point. Is there a conversation happening that's the same that is happening with the Seaside Water Master and Marina Coast?
I don't know if it's the same water or not. All I know is the storage ability from an injection is part of the dynamics that will be discussed or be an advantage, at least that side of it will be an advantage. As I understand, Marina Coast expects to use that water at some time in the future. They just don't have a current need, but the water's available. And so instead of that's what they say. I mean, I'm just.
If it's pure water Monterey expansion, that's one thing. That's water, but it also means they're choosing to pull water from another location, like the groundwater, instead of using the pure water Monterey water. So that's a decision they get to make as an agency, but it's not like there's water. I don't know of water flowing at such a rate that it can, I'm wondering, my question remains, this is extracted water. Why anyone would do that to the environment and continue to take groundwater to re-inject it into a neighboring basin that actually kind of shares the same. It's like a little bit of moving it around in a way that doesn't make sense to me.
Well, I can't think of any reason why they would want to do that, but there's excess water from pure water Monterey, and there will be more excess water from the expansion.
So that would be a great question to get answered if we're.
Absolutely.
And that all makes sense. If we're talking about extracted water, I'm not understanding, because really the old forward water, this is on paper. This isn't, they're right. They have this water. I'm not saying they don't, but to physically pull it out of the ground to demonstrate that you have water and put it somewhere else doesn't make sense to me if it's extracted. If it's pure water Monterey, another story.
Through the chair, Maureen Hamilton has her hand raised. She may have clarity.
She may be able to answer, yes.
Yeah, and this is kind of to set the public record straight. We are not planning on putting pure water Monterey water into the ASR wells. There would be some travel time issues, and it would void our ASR permit.
May I respond and ask what water it would be then?
That's a very good question. We've been asking the same questions.
Let me have the mayor.
The agreement will flesh out. And we don't have to support the agreement once it's there, but the questions and the answers we're talking among ourselves is not the ones Marina's putting forward. And it's not going to be the final comments in the agreement. And if we're not comfortable with the agreement, then we should vote it down that way. But no one's here can actually speak for why Marina or what exactly Marina is offering.
Other than
what they have.
Other than what Dave prepared in the staff report.
Right.
So this is just trying to give authority to you guys to enter into some negotiations, and then, come back to us as necessary. So what kind of motion is that?
Board directs staff to negotiate a draft agreement. But
Okay, you're hereby directed to answer a lot of questions and come back.
You have a question.
Agreement.
Yeah.
If I could just ask, perhaps it could be to continue the conversation and come back to us with more information. I mean, negotiating a draft agreement indicates that we're interested in a draft agreement. I don't have enough information right now to say that I would be interested in a draft agreement, if that's okay. Just can we
Just say,
continue?
give us an interim report
Yeah.
as it proceeds or something. That can be done. There are a couple of hands up. Let me see what we got. Alvin, do you want to?
Yes, couple of questions. This is, sound like something that we were talking about earlier today, piecemealing. Now, when y'all gonna come up with something tangible for the board? This is nothing but a, can we start? I wanna know when we are gonna finish. 30 days, 60 days, 90, 120, 6 months? Yeah, all those questions y'all need to put together and then put together a timetable of when this thing is going to be completed. Because I don't want them holding me out to wait for something to happen and something else doesn't happen. So we're going to talk about agreement. Let's get agreement, and some of those things that the other directors been talking about, they should be put in there when we're going to have this thing back for a final approval. Thank you.
Thank you, Director. Susan, do you still have your hand up?
What's that one? Susan, when you're ready.
Hi, I just wanted to add, the water master's been having some ad hoc meetings, and I just happened to be looking at some of the minutes that they were going to approve where REM made a presentation about this project, and they did speak about putting water in for storage, but that part of the deal would be that they might be able to leave 10% in order to help supplement the basin. So I think they're talking about it. I get that you don't know all the information, but I think you can get some info from those minutes and from the water master board information that has some of the outline of what they're proposing in there. I know your folks got to talk with them and they got to talk, and it's probably not time to approve anything, but I just wanted to add that they were talking about putting water in for storage and then extracting and leaving the 10% to help feed the basin. Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Yeah, I think the key question is the source of the water and what are we talking about in terms of what does that mean?
So shall we ask staff to bring us more information about that?
To
Then-
deliver an interim report, revised
Yeah.
report. Sure.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
don't necessarily think it changes what you could accomplish with them. I just don't feel like I want to be in a position where I'm coming and the decision is to approve or not approve. I would rather have a conversation about it.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Understood.
Through the chair, I have one small suggestion. When I review the outline of the agreement, the general, to add in those bullets at the very end, some sort of process for modification of the agreement. You know, just include, this is the process for if one party or the other wants to seek a modification of the agreement, just should be in there.
Yep.
So to the chair, what is the motion? What are we telling them to do?
Well, I'm not sure if we
We're
need a
not-
motion. We're just gonna direct staff to.
What else? Okay, but directors are getting a lot of information about drawing this together and what it should read and what it should say.
I think the commitment we're getting from staff is that they will enter these negotiations and bring us back an interim report before they bring anything out for action.
Before a draft is brought forward.
Before there's a draft for action. Yeah.
Should we put a time limit on it? I hate for it to get in somebody's desk and we forgot about it. So 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, bring it back?
It seems like the questions are pretty straightforward, and perhaps we could just come back next month with a report. And if it sounds good to everybody, then you would have the information you need to be able to move forward with a motion that says essentially what you were hoping to get today. But I do think we need some action, no, if it's an action item?
No, because you could just direct staff to bring it back, because that's all
Okay.
you're asking for, more information.
Right.
Yeah, that satisfies me as well.
Especially since staff also has some of the same questions, so, yeah.
Okay, so we've moved that to staff. The last item on the agenda, I don't know if it is last, is the discussion of the supply and demand proceedings. I think that's you, Michael.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. So I do have Fran Farina online. She's the one that's been taking the lead on this. I just want to direct you to page 64 or 65 of your staff report that has the memo. And I'll turn it over to Fran Farina for her discussion.
Thank you, Michael. Through the chair, board of directors. We're on the California Public Utilities Commission agenda for this Thursday, July 24th. There is a proposed decision pending on the long-term water supply and demand needs in the Cal-Am Monterey service area. This proceeding has been ongoing since November of 2021. It was originally filed to get permission from the from the Public Utilities Commission to get their approval for an amended water purchase agreement to support the expansion of Pure Water Monterey. That was approved in phase 1 in December of 2022. And we then moved into phase 2, which was determining the long-term water supply and demand as compared to what the commission knew in 2018 when they approved Cal-Am's desalination facility, groundwater replenishment, and aquifer storage and recovery. So originally we were set for the first meeting in June of this year. The matter was pulled by the commissioner for further review. We were then on the agenda for the second meeting toward the end of June. The commissioner pulled the item again and set it for this Thursday, which is July the 24th. So the issue is whether it will stay on the agenda. It is proposed as a consent item, meaning there will be no discussion. And the proposed decision, which we've had a chance to review and comment on, is what is before the commission. So that's the shorthand report. There's more detail in the memo that Dave and I prepared for the board, and I'll be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Well, just to clarify, the proposed decision is a full endorsement of Cal-Am's numbers
No,
on this, isn't it?
no.
No, am I on the wrong thing?
No, the
Okay,
primary dispute at this point is with a demand that we believe is not reasonable. We also pointed out that Cal-Am has other supply sources available to it that are not counted, but the primary focus is on a demand that is projected at over 13,000 acre feet. We're currently at just over 9,000 acre feet, and the amount of water that would be added could support an additional population of 40 to 50,000 people, which makes no sense. And we've tried to express that concept to the advisors, to the various commissioners.
Karen, then.
Yes, last I checked, I did not see a revised proposed decision. Is
That's
that
correct.
still- I mean, normally if they were going to vote on a revised proposed decision by now, they would have circulated a revised proposed decision. I keep expecting to see one come out, but you haven't seen that come out?
Well, in the past, we've seen them come out the day before the hearing, and so there is no opportunity to speak to the matter. Right now, the only blanks on the proposed decision are with regard to whether they received public comment and also the date that it was authorized. So technically, those are things they could do at the meeting and have it officially issued after the meeting. There's also the possibility that it gets put on the hold list again. They just posted the hold list, but it changes daily between Monday and Thursday. And so we're monitoring that. Our item is currently item 8 on the consent agenda. It is not on the hold list that was posted today. We'll continue to monitor that.
Okay, Kate, were you finished?
After Kate,
Okay.
This is a quick question. Just in terms of how the CPUC works, can a commissioner pull the item from consent? And could the commission ultimately vote on a decision that's not the proposed decision?
They could. In other words, it could stay on the consent agenda, and at the meeting Thursday, a commissioner could pull it off for discussion. And that could result in something different. There's one other issue that may have occurred today, and I have not been able to verify. Sometimes on the Monday before Thursday meeting, they will have what they call a deliberative meeting. It is closed session on items that could be considered on Thursday. It showed the deliberative meeting was still scheduled for today, but no agenda was posted. So it's conceivable that it was an error that it stayed on the calendar and there was no meeting, or there could have been a meeting and we did not see an agenda. That, if that occurred today, and that's a big if that occurred today, it's conceivable if our item 8, was one of the items for discussion, that the commission may have decided on a different approach, at which point it would be appearing on the hold list Tuesday or Wednesday, or they could proceed to finalize it with minor revisions. It's a guessing game at this point.
Thank you.
I wish I could be more specific. I don't have the information. None of the other attorneys that I'm working with have that information. So that's the best we can share with you right now.
One more question just to follow up on that. If they failed to issue an agenda and they did have the deliberative meeting, is that a violation of any type of public information that should have gone out?
I believe it would be a violation.
Okay.
Yeah. But as I said, we don't know with certainty whether they had that meeting. We'll continue to see if we can get an answer.
I just wanted to follow up on your question about whether the proposed decision that we've seen, which is the one that went out on May 9th, is all we've seen. And there was extensive lobbying. I mean, Cal-Am has just relentlessly continued to lobby, and all the other parties have also met with commissioners and advisors, including us, but just the lobbying is unending, and there's probably some we don't even know about. But to your question about did the proposed decision go with Cal-Am's numbers? It kind of split the baby in the sense that it agreed with our numbers on pure water Monterey and aquifer storage and recovery. That is how much supply that actually provides. So that's good. Cal-Am has still been arguing for their numbers, which are lower, but then on demand, as Fran was saying, on demand they went with, for the most part, with Cal-Am's inflated numbers, double counting, triple counting various resources. So there's been lobbying on all of that, and there were also a lot of just plain errors in the proposed decision. There were just numbers that were, it's like inverted numbers, digits, the acre feet, different in 9 different places for, things like that, just errors.
We did address that in our comments. So those could be, I'll call those typographical errors where they interpolated numbers, particularly on Pure Water Monterey expansion, and the total for the two projects, Pure Water Monterey and the expansion. Those were pointed out in the district's comments. So a modest revision one, hopefully, would address those typographical mistakes that were pointed out. It remains to be seen. I can indicate that in the ex-parte meetings that the district has had and in discussions with the council from Marina Coast and the city of Marina, there was no indication of where this was going from any of the advisors who met with the parties. So they're just very stone-faced, and they'll ask an occasional question. Sometimes it just shows a complete lack of understanding of the issues, but then again, most of them didn't see anything of this until the proposed decision came out. So they read the proposed decision. They may have read the comments from the parties. And then in the first round of ex-parte meetings, there literally were no questions. They were absorbing whatever information you could share with them. So it's a challenge.
Okay, I want to go to Amy. Amy?
Yeah, I have a
Okay.
question. I have a question about whether the commission questioned I can't remember the name of it, the organization in the state that does the prediction on growth, population growth. I mean, they didn't care about our numbers for the water, which we actually know we deliver, but did they question these numbers of 40 and 50,000 people growth for the people that actually do the predictions, from the people that actually do the predictions?
But that's part of the mystery of the meetings with them. The issue was raised. Basically, question: how do you think we're adding 40 to 50,000 people with this quantity of water? It's not going to happen. It doesn't make sense. And again, you just saw blank stares coming back at you. So I think in the you have correspondence in your packet that includes the presentation that Land Watch did.
Mm-hmm.
And there's one slide that is absolutely spectacular because it shows you in a bar graph what that quantity of water means compared to the other projections and opinions of Public Advocate's Office, MPWMD, AMBAG, and then you have CalAm way, way up, and then you have the proposed decisions number almost as far up. And it's just, you're looking at David and Goliath.
Yeah.
So if you didn't notice that one, I would encourage you to look at it. Whether it registered with them, I can't answer. I just know they would like to get it off their desk.
Yeah.
So we should
make the decision.
Okay.
So Fran, in terms of the demand differences of opinion, I hear what you're saying about the population growth. Have we been able to articulate, or has anyone articulated to the CPUC the difference in water usage? And I don't just mean water savings, but in terms of how much water we allocate to, say, a single family home or an apartment unit has transformed. It's so much less today than it was even 10 years ago, when you would assume that a single family home needed a half acre foot of water. And so has that been articulated in terms of just how much less, even if you were to assume you're going to have this growth, that growth doesn't equate what it did when these numbers were first created by CalAm?
I believe Mike gave them a simple explanation of that although Dave Stoltz's testimony was expansive as to just per capita savings, that demand is down statewide. It's not just in our area. And what Mike did, and also Marina Coast, was show the water demand on the peninsula and the water demand in Marina Coast Water District, where the city of Marina, and Mike, you can chime in with the numbers, city of Marina must have added, was it 8,000 new homes?
3,500.
And okay, 3,500, and their water use actually went down with new houses. And so it was to prove the point that demand is down even when there is growth.
Wow.
And other examples we gave was Santa Cruz water usage has gone down. City of Salinas water use has gone down, even though they've added a lot of homes in these communities over the years, you know, just with legislation, policies that the district has implemented. You know, if you buy and sell a house and you have old fixtures, we require you to put in new ones, things of that nature. So, yeah, the demand numbers are lower, even though if you do add housing.
They say it's a combination of three things. Conservation is one. The cost of water is another, because it's gone up for everybody. In our area, significantly more. And then just general per capita usage. People are using less. Sometimes it's mechanical changes that are permanent, and other times it's just people trying not to be wasteful. And we do enforce, you know, water waste. So it's a series of those three issues coming together, which shows a trend. Unfortunately, the proposed decision and the commission don't accept the reduced demand in our area. They believe that it is artificially constrained. We tried to raise the point, there's no rationing. There's no restrictions on the amount of water that you can use. The only constraint that a person has is what they can afford. And that's true. We have not had rationing imposed in our area in spite of droughts that occurred throughout the rest of the state. It did not occur here. And so the demand line that they see is something that they are reluctant to accept. So hopefully showing them comparisons with other areas where growth has occurred, they may pay more attention to what we're trying to say. I don't know.
Yes, to this point, it was very troubling to me that the proposed decision relied very heavily on the 2018 CPUC decision, saying, oh, that methodology was fine, we're just going to rely on it. And essentially nothing has changed since then, which is an astonishing statement. I mean, the demand that you were discussing, I mean, has steadily declined significantly. And as Fran was explaining, a lot of that is due to a lot of the investments in efficiency provide long-term reductions, you know, landscaping, water efficient appliances, and so on. And there's much more supply than there was in 2018. And the proposed decision says essentially nothing has changed. So why don't we just do the same thing again? You know, it's very disturbing because, Kate, we put a lot of very excellent testimony and briefing on this question of changes in demand. And Marina Coast Water District also had excellent expert testimony on this. So they have the information. It doesn't appear to have been digested, frankly.
Discontinued with the 2018 numbers. When obviously, look how much time has gone by and look how much things have happened locally. And
Yeah.
it's like they're tone deaf.
Yeah, so we said, well, the methodology used in the 2018 decision proved to be wrong because the demand is far less than was forecast then. And they say, well, we're not persuaded that that's not a persuasive argument, something to that effect, without really explaining why. That's the quality of the proposed decision. It is really deplorable. Ugh.
I would mention one other thing. The commissioner who was assigned to this proceeding is Darcy Hauk. The administrative law judge is Robert Haga. In 2018, Hauk and Haga were administrative law judges working with Judge Weatherford, who wrote the 2018 decision. And so there is a history that each of those two individuals has that may or may not be influencing their opinions and decisions.
Wow.
And Weatherford was a notably respected ALJ.
Yes. But he was getting quite ill by the time they were writing the decision, George. Remember, the proceeding had been filed in 2012. They had the hearing at the commission in 2017, and the decision came out in 2018.
Yeah, I was an intervener from 2012 to
I remember.
the election here. Yeah, well, this is interesting. This will teach you about bringing an item for discussion. No, I think it's been very helpful to get this kind of dialogue and understanding of things, and I'm glad you put it on the agenda for discussion.
And don't forget, we do have public comment still.
Okay, thanks for that. I was headed for adjournment. Okay, let's, any comment from inside, and we'll go Zoom after this.
Good evening again. Tom Raleigh speaking as a private citizen of Monterey. In the last 20 years, we've wiped out almost every front yard in our neighborhood of 153 houses. They're gone. People that used to have private gardens, used to enter flowers every year in the fair. They don't even have a contest anymore. They did away with it. This is part of the voluntary conservation that the citizens have done. I'm looking so much to the day when people don't have to be concerned about water in their front yard and their backyard and quit conserving like we've been doing. It's nuts. And so the only way we're going to get out of this is by getting the decel built as soon as possible. I've got another neighbor that's been waiting 20 years for a bedroom expansion. He's on the wait list in Monterey. Totally nuts. We need to get rid of this. We need to get this thing passed, whatever they pass. And it's Fran, you were here when we had front yards. I have gravel now in my front yard. I took them out, totally took it out. I had all junipers before, have nothing green. It's all gravel. And this is typical of the single family houses in my neighborhood and in Deer Flats, the Flats and Foothills area of Monterey. It's sad. So I'm looking forward to getting an actual water supply that we don't have to continually conserve on. Thank you.
I've got a feeling we'll be conserving for the next 5 generations. Any other?
Yes, Chair Riley, I have Marley Melton. Marley, when you're, yes, go ahead.
Thank you for this discussion and for all your work that has gone into trying to get a better decision. My question is, does approval of the decision as proposed then give Cal-Am permission to go ahead with its desal project?
Be probably one of the 20.
And I guess my only other comment would be that having stone-faced listeners does suggest outside pressure, possibly from either their fellow commissioners or some other source, but that's only speculation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Susan, when you're ready.
Thank you. I just kind of want to say this, that I have flowers in my yard. I enjoy my flowers. I water them. I pay a high water bill because I do that. We don't have a lawn. We've thrown that out years ago and made a lot of adjustments, but it's the cost of water that's keeping people from having side. And one water system pays probably 3 times what the other one does, or at least twice as much. And there's a lot less yard work in those areas where it's so expensive. So it's the water cost that's driving so much of this, and conservation, and that's a good thing. And I agree, we're going to be conserving water forever, probably in California. We don't know what the future is going to hold with climate change or anything else. However, the desal isn't the answer, especially this desal and this particular desal. If there's a desal that's needed in the future, there's new types of engineering and types of desal that are coming on that are much less expensive and more efficient than the one that we have that is, at this point, I believe, obsolete. So I just want to toss that out there. I hope they make the right decision. I don't expect them to, because I do think they are influenced drastically by lobbying and the money that's in politics. And I hope anybody who's in the public that's listening will listen in and try to make a comment, and please go on their website and make a public comment in the direction of a lower number. Thank you.
Thank you.
Chair Riley, I see no other raised hands.
Okay, back to the board. Any final comments from board members on this subject, or?
Mr. Chair, may I respond to Ms. Melton's question?
Yes.
She asked whether CalAm could proceed with the desalination plant. And there are a lot of permits that remain that CalAm must secure. In addition to which, there is a conflict now between what the California Coastal Commission authorized CalAm to build, which is a 4.8 million gallon per day, or MGD plant, whereas the PUC in 2018 looked at a 4.8 MGD plant and said it did not make economic or environmental sense at that time. And their approval was for 6.4 MGD. So that is an issue that we tried to raise in evidentiary hearings. The administrative law judge did not allow it because the scope of the phase was very narrow to supply and demand. But we, excuse me, we did raise it in some of the ex parte meetings as one of the outstanding issues from the 2018 decision that has to be addressed. And whether the commission authorizes a phase 3 to the current proceeding or instructs CalAm to file a new application or to come back to modify the 2018 decision, again, remains to be seen. But we have raised all of these additional issues that arose from the 2018 decision and subsequent actions, such as the one by the Coastal Commission, that have to be addressed. And so when the proposed decision said we're closing this proceeding, MPWMD, Marina Coast, and the city of Marina, and I believe Public Water Now all said, wait a minute, you're ignoring so many of these additional issues. You know, you need to provide direction. Either set a hearing to scope a phase 3 or direct CalAm to file a new application. So many unanswered questions, but I hope that responds to Ms. Melton.
Thanks for jumping in.
Thank you.
So now, are we headed for adjournment? I hate to speed a good, interesting party to the end, but still. Okay, meeting adjourned.
Thank you. Thank you.